So, hello everyone, and welcome back to our Python programming course. I hope you all are doing well and you have completed the practice assignment from our previous lecture. In today's session, we are going to learn another fundamental concept of Python, detail with data types. So, understanding data type is essential because every value we store in a variable belongs to a particular type, whether it is an integer, string, or any other data type. Understanding data type is essential because every value stored in a variable belongs to a particular type. Once you understand data types, so you will be able to write more accurate, efficient, and reliable Python programs. So before starting the today lesson, let's do a quick recap of our previous lecture. So in the previous lecture, we started from variables. So what are variables? So as I already told you, variable it is a location memory that is used to store data. Then I told you how to assign our data to the variables. What are the rules we should follow to assign data to the variables? There. Then I told you with a bank account example. Then I told you the value updation in variables. Then I told you some variable name and rules that a variable should begin with only a letter that is can be either uppercase or lowercase or can begin with underscore only. Then here I gave you some examples. Also, I told you that spaces are not allowed in variable names. And the as you already know that Python is a case sensitive language. So here capital N and small n means the same thing. Although I have also told you that you should use meaningful names in your code as it increases the readability of your code. Then I told you to naming styles. Although there are very many naming styles, but I told you to because no need to like learn more than two. These two are sufficient. So the first one was case snake case, and the second one was camel case. Then I told you about an identifier that what is identifier, difference between an identifier and a variable. I told you. Then I told you why are identifiers important. Then we talked about the keywords in Python language. I also told you that keyword is a reserved word. We cannot use it as an identifier. Then I told you how to get a list of the whole keywords that are present in a Python language. Then we talked about comment. A comment is a note written inside a program to explain the code. There are two types of comment, single and multi-line. Then I told you how to write these comments. We use hash for single line comments and triple double quotes for multi-line comments. Then I told you how to write a program with comments. After that, I told you about the output statements. We already know print is an output statement. Then I told you about the input statement, and I also told you how to use the input statement without any errors. Then we have done some exercises here, and I also gave you some assignments. I hope you have already done these assignments. So let's start with our today's lecture. So the question is what we will learn today. So this is our lecture, lecture 3. So what we will learn in our lecture 3? We will learn what are data types, why are data types important. We have also learned some of the types of data types such as int, float, and complex. Then we will talk about the string data type, the Boolean data type, and how to check the data type of a particular value. We will also check that. After that, we will do some basic type conversions and do some practice programs. And then I will tell you the common mistakes that beginner does by in this type conversions. So now we have connected to the previous lecture with today's topic and understood why why data is of importance. So let's begin with our first concept, that is what are data types. So let's start with the question, what are data types? So you can you like assuming that it's a very difficult thing. No, data is simply mean of data means information. So it is mean the which type of information. Like if I ask you one question, do you think Python store all these values in exactly the same way? All the values, like here I can here I take like if I write here like string hello. So do you think the Python stores hello and a number 12 in the same way? No, it's not. So here we are understanding how Python store these variables. So I think so. Let's come back to our questions, which was what are data types? So as I previously told you, you may sound this word that technical, but the idea behind is very simple. Before talking about the data types, let's first understand what is data, what data is. So, data simply means information. Any information is data. The information can be a person name, his age, salary, marks, phone numbers, address, or even when someone is present or absent. For example, every value we store or process is called data. So, I give you an example. Like if I write here Alice, it is a data type. You can only tell it is a string data type. If I write here 20, it is a number data type or an integer data type. If I are 95.5, it is float data type. We will talk about these later. Here if I write true, it is an Boolean data type. We will talk about this later in detail. But even though they are all data, but they are not the same kind of data. They are different. Let's understand by a real life analogy. So here, let's imagine if you are organizing items in your house. You don't keep clothes and books and food in the same place. You put them in different places. Clothes go in the wardrobe, books go in the bookshelf, and food goes into the kitchen. So why does this? Why do we do this? Why it is happening? Because each type of item is different and needs to be stored appropriately. Similarly, in programming, different kinds of data are treated differently. Text, numbers, logical values are not stored or processed exactly the same way. This classification is known as data types. So, if you want to definition of a data type, we can write that here. A data type specifies the kind of value stored in a Maximotive. So a data type specifies the kind of value stored in a variable and determines determines what operations can be performed on that value. So it determines what value is stored in a variable, whether it is a string or a number or a boolean value which is true or false, and what operation can be performed on that value. Like if it is a number or integer, we can do mathematical operations on it, but we can't do that on string value. So it is a, you can say, a definition for data types. For a, in simpler words, you can say that a data type tells Python what kind of information a variable contains. For a, in simple language, we can say that. So it also, it is also making it important to know that why data types are important. So right here, why data types are important. What is the need of data types? So let's understand with this example. Let's take age here, like a 20. So here the 20 is a number here. As you already know, 20 is a number here. But if we take here age in the next line, if I write here age is equal to 20. So do you notice any difference in these on the above 20 and the below 20? What are difference in these values? So the difference here is like the one is a number and the other is a string, because I already told you the string is stored in a is enclosed in quotation marks or double quotes. So Python treats them differently. If I write here print 20 plus 5, and also I write here print 20 20 string, 20 is a string here, plus 5 is also a string here. So can you like a guess? Can you take a guess what will be the output? So let's take to our coder and print these, and then you analyze what a difference between a string and a number. So here we go to our code editor. Previously we made two Python files. This is for first lecture, this is for second lecture. Now we are making a new Python file here in our Python codes folder by naming it third.py. So here, if we paste our program, firstly we write here 20. They are both are number, and in the next line they both are string. So if we run these, you see the output is a little bit different. In the first line, it is like 25, which is understandable. Like here, is do a mathematical operation and sum these two values. But in the second line, you see the answer is 205. Then how it is 205? As I already told you a little bit about in the previous lecture that in for the string here, Python treats when we use the plus operator between two strings, Python concatenates, or you can say that it joins these two strings, or we call this property concatenation of strings. So what is happening here actually that Python is joining both these two strings. So by joining, we get the output 205. So what that is happening here? So one important thing to remember is that every value is a default data type, whether it is directly stored in a variable or directly written on a program. Like if I talked about the categories of data type, so let's move to the categories in data types, or you can say types of data types, for example. So let's understand it one by one. So for the first, here we get is integer. Even for a simpler word, for the simpler words, you will consider it as the whole numbers you study in maths. For the second data type, we have float. It is same as integer, but they are a decimal numbers. For the third, here we got complex numbers. If you have like studied maths, you already know what are complex numbers. They are the mixture of re, uh, real numbers and that are not real numbers. Okay, so they are complex numbers. What we did got iota. Then we have string. Here, like you can say it's any text in a string here. So you can write in a text. And since we got Boolean, and we also called it bool. Here the value is either true or false. Okay, so they are major data types in Python language. So let's understand these data types one by one. So let's write a simple program and understand these data types. So firstly, I write here name is equal to Alice. Then age is equal to 20. Height is equal to 5.7. You can say that 5 foot 7 is that. And for the boolean, we write here is student, and we write here true. So here we have four variables. The first one is name, age, height, and is student. Although all of them stores the different values, the name stores the text, age stores the you say integer. Here we learn about the integers. Height stores are float, and is student stores are boolean. Here we have not included the complex because there is I think no real use case like journal use case. So each variable has different data types here. So they are used here. So we can take it as an example of the different data types. So let's come to the real world importance of the data types. So let's think about the banking applications. The customer name is stored as text. The account balance is stored as numbers. If you talk about the bank, so in bank, the customer name is stored as a text. You can say it account balance is stored as integer, or you can say decimal also, but it is a number. Comes under decimal, float and integer comes under number. They can be both called as number. The account status, it is active or it is not active, is stored as a boolean, like status, that boolean, as whether the account can be active or inactive at a single time. Okay, so if we take the all values the same way, they can be processed. So we take different uh, data types to process these values. Like we take balance number so that we can perform here the mathematical operations in it. The common misconceptions that are in the beginners that quota- that quotation marks are only used for decorations, but that's not true. Quotation marks completely change the meaning of a number. For example, if here I take 100 and here next line I take 100. So these are completely different things. The first one is number and the other one is a string. So now we know what are data types and why they are important. So the next com- questions come into our minds. What are different types of data available in Python? We will also talk about that. Firstly, let's quickly summarize what we have learned in in this short section of data types. So I told you what is the definition of data types. It specifies the kind of value stored in a variable and determines what operation can be performed on that value. So let's here we take some examples. We also talked about why data types are important with the examples also with the bank example also. So let's do a simple example and I ask you a simple question. So like if I take here mm, for example, if I take here ls, it is text here or we'll say string here. If I take 20, it is actually a number. If I take here 95.5, it is a float or you can say decimal number. And true here is a boolean. So if I ask you one question, if I add quotation marks in the 20, does this affect this number data type? The answer is yes, definitely. It will make it the text. So I am reminding you this only because people often mistakes in this quotation marks only. So let's come to our let's analyze the types of data types in Python. So let's explore the first category of data types in Python that are numeric data types. So as you already know, numbers are used everywhere in programming. Whether you are building a calculator, banking application, a game, or a scientific program, you will always work with numbers. Python provides three main numeric data types. First one is I already told you before that your integer we write in Python like int. The second one is float. We write here same as float. The third one is complex. We write it as complex only. So let's understand these one by one. So for the integer, let's understand what integers are, or we can say int, int data type, integer data type or int data type. So in simple words, integers are totally whole numbers. Numbers start from 0 to infinite. Not exactly infinite, but you can say it is infinite. The main point is here that it does not contain any decimal. You should always remember this, that there should not be any decimal points in integer. If you write this, it will give error. So I give you some examples, 2 or 3 examples of here, like 10, 0, and minus 25. You can also, although you can see that it can contain negative numbers, although they are whole numbers, but they can contain negative numbers. So if I let's do a small program by these numbers. So here, if I comment out of these and right here, like 3, I am making 3 values. 8 is equal to 20, mass is equal to 95.5, and temperature is equal to minus. Let's take here 95 only because we are talking about only integers. So if we print all these, we will get the output as 2095 method as we have written in. But if I like took here the quotation marks, it will become a string. Although it is displaying the same output, if like I can show you by writing marks plus 5. Then if I print that, it's showing an error that it is can only concatenate string. Here marks is string and 5 is a integer. That's why it's can't concatenate. If I take 5 as a string, then you can get the output 955. As it continues 95 and it joins the 95 and 5. So let's move this quotation marks for now. So let's get to our next part, which are floats. Like if I write already floats. As I already told you, floats are the decimal numbers. Example I can give you, as you already know, but I'm giving 2 3 examples. Like you can take 95.5. Also, here are minus numbers, negative numbers also. 12.75. Here in the program, if we write here 95.5, then we will get the output 95.5 only. So that's the difference between int and float. So let's see the real life use case of these floats. So they are used mainly on like the precise things. When we use precise things like height, a body temperature, product prices, scientific measurements, mainly scientific measurements, and speed of vehicles. So let's take a quick comparison between int and floats. So there are only two main difference that integers don't contain any decimals; they contain decimals, as you can only see in the examples. So let's come to the next topic, that is complex numbers. Complex numbers. So as you already uh, learned in maths what are complex numbers and also done some problems on that numbers. So there are not general use case of this complex number. They are mainly used in like your physics part, mainly physics, or you can say advanced mathematics and your scientific computing. Okay, so all these two numbers are have two parts. Like if I write three, for example, I can take you for example three plus, you can say plus or two I. So here this one is real part in it, and this one is imaginary part in it that contains iota. As you already learned uh, in the, or what we can say that in the maths, that the value of iota is under root minus 1. So I'm not here talking about the maths. I'm just like giving an overview of the complex numbers. So let's also create a complex number in our Python program. So here, if I take like a value x whose value is like 3 plus 4j. You can just take j here. I think Python doesn't understand I. We take here j. We understand only j. J is used. However, in mathematics you can take any number, but here Python accepts only j. If I try to print here in the next line, print x, although I should have comment this. Then if I run this program, you can say a number is printed, but you can say there are a bit difference in printing. They are printed in what? They are printed in parentheses. So this is the difference between the complex numbers and the decimal and int numbers. Although they are, do not worry about these numbers. We can only here Python gives the support to these numbers. However, they are rarely used in any Python program. It's very useful. Although you can almost also see Python automatically identifies the data types also. We can also give the information about the data type we are using, and Python can also identify by itself what data type it's that. Actually, in the technical terms, you can say that you don't need to explicitly tell Python whether a value is an integer or a string or a float. Okay, if I write here, okay, write here age is equal to 20 and height is equal to 5.8, then Python automatically identifies that 8 is a int and height is a float. So this feature is called dynamic typing. If you some might of you have heard this name, it is known as dynamic typing. We will mm, study about this also in later. Dynamic typing. Python also provides us a method to check data type of a particular variable. So checking the type of data stored in a variable. So we can do this by type function. It is a inbuilt function in the Python used to tell the type of a variable or a like value, if not variable. Like if I write here age is equal to 20. So here we know its type is int, but let's check with the help of type function. So for that we will comment this and we will write here age is equal to 20 and we will print, we have to print the type now, so we will write here type and in the parentheses we will write age. If we run this, here it is saying class int. So it is telling that it is of the type int. Don't get into the, like the word class. It is the type of int. Or we can also check the other types also. If we write here is right here like height 7.5 and print type height. In the next line, if I take a complex number also, let x is equal to 3 plus 4j and print here type of x. So let's run this program. You can see it is given class int for that, class float for that, and class complex for that. So by this type function, you can easily identify the data type of a particular variable. We will also study this type function. We will also apply this type function on the other data types in that like ahead of in this lecture only after some time. So let's come to some beginner level mistakes that beginners often do in this data type section. So most people think that if I write in decimal 20.0 and 20, so people think that both these 20.0 and this 20 is same, but it is not. Mathematically, they represent the same quality, but they are of different data types. It is of float and this is of integer data type. You can also uh, identify the types or by the type function of these data types for confirming this. Like if I write here print or type 20, print type 20.0. However, mathematically they are both same thing, but the data of these are different. See int and float. So that's a basic mistake that beginner can do here. So now so far we have studied some numeric data types. So let's come to the data types which can store textual things like the store, like its address, names, and the other things. So we call we call them strings. So let's quickly summarize what we have learned in this numeric data types and come to strings. So here we start from integer data type. So integer are the whole numbers but it cannot contain any decimal. However, it can contain negative number also. So remember this. Floats are the definite decimal numbers that can also contains negative number. Complex numbers are the mixture of real numbers and imaginary numbers. So it is here three is a real number and 2i is your imaginary number. They are basically used in physics, advanced mathematics, and scientific computing. So also I have also told you that Python can itself identify whether a variable is a number or it is a float. This property is known as dynamic typing. Then after we have learned about the type function, which can check the type of data stored in a variable, not n variable. Then I will told you difference between 20.0 and 20. So let's come to string part and learn something about string. So in real world application, not all we only don't require numbers. We also require some textual data also. Like we need to store the names of countries, cities. We also have to store the messages, email IDs, and many other types of textual data. So these all textual data are stored in the string data types in our system. For the detailed definition, we can say that a string is a sequence of, you can say anything, not anything letters, numbers also as num we can write also numbers also inside string, symbols, special characters also. Okay. The main point in the string is that it must enclosed in double quotes or quotation marks. Quotation marks. So as you already know, this we call this quotation marks. For example, I can say you that for example, like we first write our first hello world. It is a string. I don't need to think you require more examples of this. It is very obvious. So let's understand why we need strings. By you can say a real life example. You can say. So imagine you are creating a student management system, and you need to like store student's name, father's name, city, course, and email address. So in this, none of a single thing. It is a number. It is all strings. So that's why I use string data here, and it is like widely useful already. So let's create some of our string variables and print them. So it's very easy. I have already done many times. So I will do it again for the revision. We can take name as Rahul, city as you can say Delhi, and course you can say any course like LLB you can say. Okay. So if I write here print name, city, and course, so you already know what will be the output here. So let's run this. You say the output here is Rahul, Delhi, and LLB. So it is a basic examples for the like making a string variable and printing them. So let's come to the like creation of strings. So however, you can also create string by double quotes, but Python also provides us a way to write main string by single quotes also. If you write here Rahul and here Rahul, these both are valid. These both are totally valid ways of making strings. Like if here I write here in single quotes, you can say here if I print this again, there will be no error. But I suggest you to use double quotes only, as in other language they only support double quotes. So you will have a habit of using only double quotes. So you will not do the syntax mistake in other language. This is my suggestion only. However, you can also use single quotes only. There is no bad thing in that. So as I previously also told you, string can contain numbers when we like numbers on any special characters. So here I take like course code and write here any MRT 101. So if I write here course code, so what will be the output? You can say no error will be there if I run that. See, no error will be there. So it are basic things that I have already told you that they can contain also spaces also. If I write here space here, if I write space, there will be no problem in that. Also, they can contain special also like at the rate underscore. Okay. Also, Python also allows us to make empty strings. If I write here this, there is nothing in that. So Python also allows us to create empty strings also. If I write here, if I make another string, right here, empty, and write nothing here, I can also print here empty. However, it doesn't print anything. It is just for the purpose only. See, nothing is there. Okay. So let's come to the beginner's mistakes people often do here. So mistake number one is obvious one. People often forgot to write the quotation marks here. Not they write the single quotes or the double quotes. So it will definitely give the error here. Next, people also make like in VS Code. Like if I write any string here, if I make a double quotes, VS Code automatically closes this VS Code. This is this quotation mark. But on the standard editors, if I write here this, it can't be closed. So people often write this only, and that's why it gives an error string that is undetermined. Undetermined. If I run that, you can say the error come undetermined string literal. Okay, so it is also an error. It cannot happen in the VS Code, but it can happen in the other editors which will provide this automatic closing. Also, most people do this mistakes of mixing the code. Like if they write, if we start by single quotes but end with double quotes, then it is also a problem here. Either you use single quote or use double quotes. You can't use the combination uh, of both these like double quotes. If I write here intro and right here I am using Python. So as you can see, there is nothing wrong in it. But if I close this double quotes and write here single quotes, then you can see it only takes I as a string and it left, but I the single quote here is a part of the string. It is, but Python treat is as a closing quotes. So uh, we can solve this by using one quotes after the error where Python is not recognizing it. So by this we can solve this problem and print in from this. See, there is I am using Python. Okay, or for that you can also use like a double quote also. Okay, so I think it is a far better method in that. Okay, so let's come to our real life examples. As you already know your basic usernames, bio, and the message you are storing is stored in string only. So it is not like a big detailed topic. It is simple topic. So they need to stretch it more. So now we have learned about numeric data types and strings. But sometimes a program doesn't need only numbers and text. Program no program also sometimes program also wants to know whether something is happening or not, whether it is a true or not. For that we use Boolean data type. Boolean data type. So before coming to the Boolean data type, let's quickly revise the strings for like one time. So as I already told you, string there are sequence of letters, numbers, symbols, and special characters. And main thing here is that you must remember to enclose it in the quotation marks. I am telling you this many times because it is important. That's why. Let's come to Boolean data type and explore this data type also. So it is another important data type used in Python, mostly in like condition statements. It also like it checks whether a condition is true or false. We will study that later also. So for the definition, I can say that it represents only two values, whether it could be true or false. For the real life example, imagine you are logging into a website and system check whether your password is correct. If it is correct, the result will it is true and you logged in the website. But if it is wrong, then then it returns false and it's like reports an error that your password is wrong. So it is a real life example. You will consider it. So now let's create some Boolean variables. Like if I write here is for the website only is logged in. If you correctly entered the password, it will write here true. Otherwise, it will write false. It only can contain one value at a time. So let's run it on the code editor here. Let's make a is. logged in is equal to true. Print is logged in. Then we try to run it and we got the true. That I am is parent come from our. We will like comment this and we can enter this and we got the answer true. Okay, so this is a basic example. You can also store here false, but right here false. If you enter wrong password, the value will be false. So if I run this, we get a false. So let's also set the data type of this boolean values, and we also didn't check the data type of string. So let's also check for the string also. If I write here type and so and, run this, you see this type of thing come when we get check this class is equal to str. Now we check our boolean one. We write only write need to write here the type and here we close the parenthesis and when this we got our value class is equal to bool. It is a boolean data type, but we in Python we call in short is bool. So let's understood one basic thing also here that you cannot write here is logged in equal true here. You can't write this like this because it is a string data type. However, if I print this, it will surely get true in the terminal. But if I type its data type, if I check its data type, it will provide us str. So this means important to not to use quotation marks in our Boolean data type. It should be without quotation marks, whether it is true or false. So for the real world examples, I already gave an example of the website. You can also check if real example when take if your attendance is low in the if you study in college, then you are not allowed to give examination. It is checked by this Boolean data type whether whether the attendance is below the specified criteria or is higher than the specified criteria. Then it decide whether to give permission to a specific student for allowing to sit in exam. So here I have told you how to store the Boolean variable, but you can also check various conditions by Boolean variable by taking the Boolean variables as output. As if I write here like print if 10 is greater than 5. This symbol is like we will talk about this later. This is comparison operators. So if I print this, you already know 10 is greater than 5, so answer should be true. So if I run this, you can see the answer is true. Okay, so because by this we can also get the Boolean expression as output. Okay, so let's also use some beginner level mistakes that people often do here. For the Boolean expressions, people often do the mistakes. They write trou. Here, the t should be greater, so it should be trou, not small t. and this is also for false also. If I write here false, it should be also wrong. The you should always write this like data type as they are defined. Okay. So second one I already told you, people often use quotes in these. So it is also uh, where a mistake people often do. So let's compare all the data types we have learned till now. So firstly, we have learned here our integer data type. So here 25 is a integer data type. Second, we have learned float data type. So I gave an example 90.55 is a float data type. Then we studied about the your complex data type. So let's take the example 3 plus 4j. It is a complex data type. Then we learn about string data type Python. It is a string data type. Then we learn about the last one is Boolean. So here if I write true without the quotation marks, then it is Boolean data type, or we can say here bool. So let's recap this the Boolean data types. Then we will uh, move to the most common built-in data types that we have studied now. How we can Python calculate the type of value automatically. So let's just revise this. So let's revise this Boolean data types. So as I already told you, the Boolean data type represent whether a value is true or false. We can assign it by is logged in is equal to true or false. The you should remember to make T capital and F capital in true and false. Here we are compared some of the data type. It is a quick recap. So let's come to our next topic, which is the type function. We will study the type function here in detail. However, I gave a brief overview of the type function, and I also use it in the code editor. So our next topic is type function. So for the definition purpose, we can say that like the type function is used to identify the data type of a variable, okay, or a value. If you not write directly writing variable, you can also say value. Okay. The its syntax is you can say we write here type and we write here a variable name, and we also like for printing purpose we here write print statement. Okay. For example, like here I write variable or value we can also write here. If I write here print type and 10, we will get our output here, right? Like this, we get our output class int. I also showed this in the editor also. So let's not rerun it. Same for the other values. If I like 10.5, it will give here float. If I write here any string like hello, then it will give str. And for the boolean, it give, if I write here true, capital T, true, it will give bool. Yeah. Okay. So although we have used it many times, so that I think no need to like stretch more. So let's understand why type function is useful. So if I write here, why is it useful? So there are several reasons why people use type functions. Firstly, it helps to understand the program. Secondly, it also helps to debug it. It helps to debug also. Third, it helps us to find mistakes in our code. Okay, like here, I'll give you an example. If I take here an input like age is equal to input and write enter your age, or I should have written enter your birth year. Okay, so for the output, I have to give your age is, and I will like 2026 minus the year. I will do this, but here there is one mistake. Can you get what is the mistake here? If I ran this program and write here like any birth rate 2006, you can see we get an error because here default this input takes a string, not a number. So in previous lecture I told you we write here int and we close it. Now if we run this again, it is also known as typecasting in C, but we will talk it later. I'm just giving you an example. If I write here uh, 2007, you can say like it gave our age, your age is 19. So that's why it is also a mistake here. Like we should always deduct from the same thing. Also, you can concatenate the strings, but you can't like use minus for strings. It can be only as a mathematical operator in the integers value only. So this is a basic error people do. So get back to our like type function and understand some beginner mistakes people often do while writing type function. So the first mistake people often do is to forget the parentheses. Like if you write here print errors, If you write here print, like type here, what you will get without parentheses, without writing any. Let's do it in our code editor. If I write here print type and run this, it will give the class type. Why it is give class type? Because it prints the function itself, because not the data type. So it makes it mandatory to use parentheses in it. So for the correct version, you can write here anything like any data type. Like you can write here true, and when you run this, you get class is equal to boolean. Okay. So mistake two, people always confused in the outputs. Like if I write here, if I write here print 20, it gives and oh I forgot to write here type. Okay, and I write here print type 20. The both answer will be different. However, both are 20, but here quotation marks changes the value of the data type. Here we will got here for the below statement we will get here and class is equal to int, and here we will get here or you can say str, because here quotation marks are used. So it is a like basic. I already told you. It also resembles like people often write print type and people write here true with t small. So it is also wrong here. You should always write t capital. These things I already told you. So let's do a small activity and in which we have to print the different data types. So let's do it together and we write here, if I write here print and type and here I write hello. Second, in second line I write print type and write here like 500 and in the next line I write here mm, false. In the next line I write here you also do with me and then you can line I will ask you what will be the output of this all print statements. Here 27.75 and then I think most of our are done. Let one also like what I should I write the complex number 3 plus 4 2. So before I click on run, take your 2 3 seconds and Like assume what will be the output here. So I run it, and you can see here first came class str. It is a string. Then int. It is a int. Then it is a boolean. Then it is a float, and last it is complex. So it is like a small activity for revising the type function that can be used with all data types. For the real life importance, as your program becomes larger in the upcoming development cycle of yours, then it you will forget what type of variable contains, what type of data variable contains. Instead of guessing, simply use the type function here. So it is a real life use case, or you can say importance for this. So let's take a quick recap of this, and then we will like move to the part of the type casting, how we can change one data type into another data type. So here we, for the type function, we have learned what is a type function. So the type function is used to identify the data type of a variable or a value. Here it is a syntax of this type function. These both are syntax with examples and its output. And then we will we understand why it is useful. So I have given you all the points. Then we will talk about some basic errors people often do, and people should like correct these errors. So let's get into our new topic, that is type conversion, or you can say changing one data type into another. Type conversions. So like let's I ask you a question. What do you understand by the word type conversion? So so far we have learned how to identify data type and value within the type function, but I think that's not enough. Sometimes identifying the data type is not sufficient. In my situation, we have to change one data type into another data type. This process is called type conversion or type casting. You can also call it type casting also. Okay. So let's understand with a basic definition, you can say. So type conversions means to convert a value from one data type to another data type. So like from converted string to integer, integer to string. Like I give you an example. You can convert from string to integer, or integer to float, and a float to a string. So Python also provides the built-in functions to convert these. Like if you convert the string into an integer, we will just use int and function. Then for the float, we will use integer to float. We will use float. For float to string, we will use str. And there are also a boolean for converting anything to boolean. Okay. So first we understand what is the need. Why do we need? type conversions. So let's understand it with a practical example that like I already told you, if you take a variable like age is equal to input and you write here enter. So by default, Python treats it as a string and take age as a string, whatever value you give. For that, if you try to print height and your age, you will get the output as class str. But age cannot be taken in a string; it has to be taken in the your integer. So for that, what we use, we just change the input, like not change the input, just add another function before input. If we write here age is equal to int, we write here input and we can write here enter. So now when you write here print type age, you will get here class int. Okay. So by this method, you can take an age as an input in the form of a number or integer. How this is happening actually? Firstly, here the input returns only your string, but here int function explicitly converts it into the uh, int. It returns into string. It converts this string value into int. Right? If I try to do it and write here, if I write here number is equal to 150. As you already know, it is a string, but if I print, if I reinitialize it and number is equal to int and then right here 150. So if I when I will print here the type of number and when I print this exact statement below, you will get two different values of the two different outputs from the type function. So when I run this, you see first it is a string. Before we convert it here, we got the output string, and next we got our int. So here we successfully converted a string into a integer. We can also convert into a float also. For float, nothing you have to do, just like same as int. Here for the float, you will take a marks as the input as you need in decimals. Right here float, float, and here like input. And right here enter. Okay. So by that you can take your marks as in decimal also. Like if I try this on our editor and print type of mark, like if here I run this program and enter my marks here 9.01, then it will tell me the class is float. What if simply write n9 without point? Let's also try this also. If I run this and write here 9, then also it will give us the float class. Why it is happening? Because if I write here print marks, it will give us the output 9.0 because it converted it into the float. So if I run this and put 9 here, you can see we get the output 9.0. So it converts 9 into 9.0 because of that float function. So by this float function, we can convert our string into float. Okay. You can take other examples also, like if you take here integer to float, I can say here. If you take here number is equal to 25 and print its time. Okay, but when you will write here number is equal to float and here write 25, then to print the type of number, you can see it will be successfully changed. See int and float. If I try to print here number, it will make the 25 into 25.0. You can say 25.0. However, if I print after that, it will be only 25. See, so that's how it works. Now we can also convert the numbers into string also. Like if I if I want to convert any number to string, we like just take a example age is equal to 20 or 30. If you want to convert it into a string, I will write here age is equal to str age. So when I will print here type age, it will give us class age. So let's copy this and run into a code editor. Let's run this. As you can see, it is giving us class str. If I print here type age, then it will give here integer. Okay. So by this we can also convert integer or a number into string also. So however, if you have a question in your mind, why to convert number into a string? So imagine if you are generating a message like your age is 20. So one way is that like you can write here age is equal to 20 and you will print here um, my age is, then you will put comma here and write age But there is also another way to do this. If I write here print my age is, now here I can, instead of comma, I can use plus and write here str age. So this operator joins the string into string, and you can say concatenation. Here concatenation is happening. So it is on also way. So write my age. So that's why it is used in this only. For the Python is also allowed to convert into string also. For example, in Python, here 1 is true and 0 is false. Actually, in Python, 0 is always false and non-zero numbers becomes true. Like if I write here print and write here Boolean and 1. So it will give me output true. Any non-zero number, if I write here 100 also, then answer will also be true. So, but if I write here 0, then answer will be false. So you should remember this as it is by most used in this. Also, for the Boolean, firstly I told you that in Boolean, non-zero numbers are considered as true, and 0 is considered as false. You should remember this, it is important. So, and for the strings, empty strings like this, when you don't write anything in between, are treated as false, and your non-empty strings like non-empty strings are treated as true. Okay, so this is also, I can show you example also. If I write here print boolean and write here nothing, and next line I print boolean and write here python, then you can see here the first order would be false and second one would be true, as you can see that. So please remember this as it is a very important thing. For that, it is enough to know its behavior only. Although there are some invalid conversions also in Python that should give you an error if you try this. Like not every conversion is possible here. If you if you try to convert a string into a number and the string contains on letters, then it is not possible. If I try to convert number is equal to int and write here hello. So Python gives you error. If I try this and if I make a number variable and right here int and pass it string name hello and that print number. So let's see what will happen. You see, we got an error saying value error. I think the value pass here is wrong. So invalid literal for int with base 10. The value pass in this double quotes should be of base 10 only. Okay, so this is not a valid conversion. So I will write here cross. Next, for if I try to like if you try to do number is equal to int and right here hello, it will not give any error. So it is a right again. So some let's get some into the beginner mistakes people often do in using in type conversions. So first mistakes. The first mistake is like forgetting conversions. The first mistake is people often forgot to use conversions. We simply write marks is equal to input. Although here we should include float or integer. Otherwise, the value in the marks will be stored as only string. Okay. Now the second mistake people often do here is like converting invalid data. Like I previously told you to convert hello into number. It can't happen, no? So if I convert hello into a number or int, it is wrong. Third, assuming every decimal can become an integer without change. Like if you like I should write here, if you convert num is equal to float and you write here, sorry, num is equal to int and you write here 5.9. So you are converting a 5.9 into a integer value. So here your information will be lost. Your zero point 0.9 information is lost here. So the value of num should be only 5. Right here, 5 only. Num is equal to 5. So you should remember while converting whether your information is getting lost or not. Like in the normal mathematics, it doesn't round it to like 6 or something. It just removes the point one point part only. So let's just do a mini activity of this also. So in the activity, we will try to typecast some data types into another data types. So here, if I write print, and you have to guess the output at the last. So if I write here int and write here 50, second line if I write here print and write here float 20, in third if I write print str 100, in third if I write print bool and 0. So now you have 2 seconds to guess this answer, although it's very easy. So let's just run this program and see what are the answers. So you can see the 50 is converted into 5050. Float is 20 converted into 20.0. 100 is converted into 100. Actually, it is string only. This is looking like the number. And the 0 is converted into false. As I already told you that the non-zero numbers are converted to true and 0 is converted to false. So that rule is applying here. So for the real life importance, I will told you the type conversion are used in almost every Python application. Only online forms convert user input into numbers. Banking application convert entire amounts into numeric values. Like if you deposit 500 rupees into bank, the bank will take as rupees 500.00. The point 00 represents the paisa. Okay. Scientific program convert measurement into floating point numbers to get more precise. Without time conversion, no problem will work correctly. No bird program will work correctly. So let's take a quick recap of this. So we started from type conversions here. So for the definition of type conversion means to convert a value from one data type to another data type. Here I gave you some examples and built-in function to convert one data type into another data type. Here I gave you an example to convert like a string data type into integer data type. Here I told you an example to convert string data type to float. Then here we take integer data type and convert it into string data type. Next, here we take age 20, and by this example I told you why it is important to convert integer into string. Then I told you about some properties of Boolean. Here, non-zero numbers are considered as true and zero is considered as false. All the empty strings are treated as false and non-empty strings are treated as true. This is a little bit more important for the condition statement you can see. Although there are some invalid conversions also, like you can't convert like hello into number. We can't convert any letter into numbers. And then we discuss some mistakes people often done by type conversion, like forgetting conversion, second converted invalid data, and like assuming every decimal can become integer. And here information got lost. So we have now learned about Python most common data types, how to identify them using type, and how to convert them into functions like int, float, string, and boolean. So let's come to some basic programs for these topics in these topics. So let's come with the first practice program. So for the first practice program, firstly, I'll tell you why do we do these programs. Although these all things are very easy, we do only doing this practice program so that people things can uh, reside on your brain. They cannot get out of your brain after you completed the lecture. So let's come to our first practice program. So for the first practice program one. So in this program, you have to take 4 to 5 variables. First is name is equal to Alice, age is equal to 20, and height is equal to 5.7. Okay, and is student is equal to 2. Then your task is to like get the data types of all these variables by the using of type functions. So pause this video and do it by yourself. Then I will start with my. So let's start with the practice program one. So firstly we have to take our 4 variables. Like first one is name equals Alice. Second age is equal to 20. Third height is equal to 5.7. And fourth is equal to is student equal to 2. So these are our 4 variables. Now we have to find the data type of all these variables. So let's just write that print its type by using type function. We will write here print function, then inside it we will write here type, and we write here name. Same for other variables also. We write here print type and age. For the next we write print height. Oh, I forgot type. You will write here type first and that parenthesis and one another parenthesis. Then you will write print type or is student. Okay. So let's just run this program and see what is the output. So as you can see, the first one is our string, the second one is our integer, third one is our float, and fourth one is our boolean. By this we by this we come to our next practice program, that is practice program 2. So in this program we have to take age as a input in, and we have to print the age increased by 5. So let's just do this. So here are our second practice program. Firstly, we will take a age variable. Then for input, I will use input and right here enter your age. But aren't we forgetting something here? I have told you that age is a integer, so we have to take here a int and close that. After that, we will print age, which is increased by 5. So we will write here age is, and right here age plus 5. As you can see, if I write here my age 50, the answer is 55. You can also do this by this method also. If I remove int here and you will write here int and this will also give the same output. So both of these methods are correct. If I write here 50, the answer is 55. So both of these methods are correct. You can do by any of these methods. Okay. So let's come to our practice program 3. In the practice program 3, practice program 3. Here you have to take the three subject marks. So first here will be science, second as an input, and the vector text will be integer. Okay, science, math, and English. After that, you have to calculate total marks. Okay, so let's also do this. Firstly, I will comment this program, and I will take here three your variables. First will be math, okay, and I will take here like int input, and I will write here enter maths marks. Then I will take here science. Same for science. I will write here input enter science marks. And for English, I will write here int input enter English marks. Okay. So we have already write the input statements. Now we will take a new variable names total marks, and we will add these marks. So maths plus science plus English. Okay. Now I will print these print total marks, and I will write here total marks. So let's just run our program and see how we get our output. Firstly, it will tell me to write math marks. I will write here 80. For science marks, I will write here 50. And for English marks, I will write here 90. So we will got our sum of these all these marks. Okay. So let's come to our next practice program. That is practice program 4. So here for this practice program, we only do a simple thing. We have to convert a number which is integer into float. So let's just here we have to take a number in a variable that would be 25, and you have to convert into float, and also tell its data type by type function. So let's just do this. If I take here a variable number is equal to 25, and I have to convert it to a float, then I will add here number is equal to float, and right here 25. The spelling of floor is wrong. So you should also remember to write the correct spellings. Then I will print the number. Okay. So let's just also I will print type number. So let's just you can see our number is converted into float. Firstly, it was an int. Okay. So let's just get onto our next practice program, which is to convert a number to string. So we have to convert a number to string. So here we take roll number as a variable, and then we have to convert into a string and also print the type by uh, its type functions also. I'm not writing the code because I've already told you first time. So like here we take a number like load roll number which is equal to 101, and then take roll another variable load text as str a roll number. Then I will print roll text, and I will also print here type also. It's type also. Let's just run this program because you can see R101 has already become string. So it's an easy practice programs. So in next programs we will do some Boolean conversions. So let's do our practice program 6. Practice program 6. So here we have to print the different values of the following things in booleans, like what is mean by 0 in boolean, of 1 in boolean, of empty string in boolean, and of like a full string, non-empty string, like here I say hello in boolean. So that's our whole practice 6, practice program 6. So we will write here, so we write here print, and we will write here like boolean firstly, and write here R0. Also I can write here 0, 0 is next. I will print, no, print, and I will write here 1 or non 0 is, you can write here any non-zero number like 5. Then you will print empty string is, right here bool, and put an empty string. Then you will print mm, the like non-empty string, non-empty non-empty string is, so I will write here bool and right here. Now let's run this. You already know the output. The 0 is false, non-zero is true, empty string is false, non-empty string is true. So let's get to our last project practice program, that is 7. So in our practice program 7, we have to like identify the data types. So here you have given the all values, like it's 100, value 2 is 100, value 3 is 100, and 5 and value 4 is equal to false. Now how we will identify what are the data types of these values? So firstly I will copy this and we will paste it in our code editor. Now I will write a type function. Firstly we will write print and write here type, and I will write value 1, then I will write print and write here type value 2, then I will write here print and type value 3, and I will write print type 4. Let's just execute this program. You can see we got our output. So after completing our activity programs, let's do a mini activity in which you have to predict the output. So I will write here a program and you have to predict the output of the program. So on the first line of the program, I will write number is equal to 50. Then I will print here type of number. Then I will update the value of the number by this, and then I will write print type of number. Again, your task is you to tell me what will the value of this print statement and this print statement. So like take some your time and guess the output. Till then, if I remove this or I just if I paste it here, what do you think the output will be? So let's just run it, and you got first output string and second output int. Why this happens? Firstly, the number will is at string. So first we put type and the number is string. Secondly, we type convert it into integer. That's why the number is integer here. So let's connect this all these practice programs to a real life application. So imagine you are filling an online examination form. Mostly of your fill like competition exam form like three mains and etc. Where you have to enter your age, marks, and mobile number. Even though you type mobile number on the keyboard, the computer initially reads them as text. The program then converts the required values into integers or floats before processing it. So this is the most common use case of type conversion, you can say. So now I will give you a small coding, you can say a small coding challenge. Okay, so pause the video and try writing this program by yourself. So let's continue with our coding challenge. So what should I give you as a challenge? Okay, if I write here, so you have to write a program, write a program that asks users to enter the name, the age, and the height. Then you have to display it like name, and then here you have to enter input. Then age. Input means the input name that you have written here. Age is equal to age after 10 years. Then your height. Okay, the inputted height will be here. Input height. Okay. Then finally use the type functions to display the data type of each variable. So you can consider it as your like a homework or your coding challenge. Okay. Then you can see or screenshot that also. Then let's translate like come into like some beginner mistakes also. That so let's now come to some beginner mistakes that people often do while using all the variables they type in the type function and type conversions. So uh, firstly, I tell you if you do make mistakes, it is not a problem. Making mistakes is completely normal in Python or any programming language. So only thing you have to remember that do not be afraid of the mistakes. You are learning by them. So just revising the mistakes so that you can't do errors. So first one is forgetting your quotation marks. Do you vote? Do you it quotation marks? No. For example, I give you like name is equal to ls. It is completely wrong. Second is people like treat string as a number like Yeah, you can't take a is equal to 20. It is a string, not a number. Okay. Now, third mistake that people often do is they like forgot to typecast. Forgot to typecast in input statement. Okay. For example, if you like input the age is equal to input. So you can't just do it like this. You have to put here in int here. Okay. So this is also so you're wrong here, and this is also wrong here. Okay. For the fourth one, people write like true. This true in place of true. This will also give you error like is eligible. We write here true. This is also wrong. For the fifth, like I will give you like string as a number same. Then people also do invalid type conversion also. Number is equal to int and then right here hello. As I already told you, this is a very common mistake people often do. So this is also wrong. And sixth, people do in type conversion only. Like they assume that by converting float to int, result will get wrong. Like if I write here print float 5.9, then it doesn't mean that it will convert it into 6. It is totally wrong. Okay. Next, people often do like writing parentheses and type like they write 7 for getting parentheses. Okay. So like if you write print type like type, so this is totally wrong. You have to provide the parentheses also. It is wrong here. So what should we do to avoid these mistakes then? So we should always check whether a value should be a number or text. Always use quotation marks only for strings. Remember that input is on first string by default. If you can't explicitly typecast or not typecasting it, use type whenever you are unsure about the variable statement. So these are the basic things. If you remember it, you will not do any error. So we have covered the concepts written for practice program and this is the most common beginner mistakes. Before we end today's lecture, let's quickly summarize everything we have learned so far in this lecture. So let's quickly summarize all of the things in like basic summary. So if we like where we have started this lecture. Okay. I think from there, lecture 3. So firstly, in our today's lecture, we understand what are data types. So I have already done the definition of data types. It specifies the kind of value stored in a variable and determines what operation can be performed on that value. Okay. Then we understand why data types are important. I have also like try to write some other data types like this is a number, this is a string, and I will also talk about some of the concatenation in strings. Then we will talk about the categories of data types, like types of data types. So integer are there, whole number, decimal, complex numbers also, strings also, and boolean also. Then I will also give you the example. Then a real life example also for the bank, like in bank, customer name is shown as text and balance is a number and status as boolean. Please remember that float and integer are the two subcategories of number. Okay. Then I gave you the examples of these all data types like L is the text, 20 is the number, and 5.5 is float, and 2 is boolean. Then we studied integer data type in detail. Like it is a whole number you can say, but it doesn't contain any decimals. Also, it can contain negative numbers too. For floats, that's all same as integer, but they contains decimals. For the complex numbers, they are used in physics, advanced mathematics, and scientific computing. And I have also given examples to how to write this. However, you can write this in general way, but Python accepts only J here. So please correct this. Here I will talk about the dynamic typing that Python automatically identifies the data type of a particular variable. So now I have gave you an introduction about the type function, like what is the use of the type function. The type function is used to identify the data type of a particular variable or a value. Then we have talked about the string data type, like it must be enclosed in quotation marks and it is a sequence of letters, numbers, and symbols, specificators. Okay. For example, I have gave you all this hello world example. Also told you like you can make string in two ways by double quotes and by single quotes also. Then we have studied about the Boolean data types that it represents only two values, true and false. Okay, here I have written a small true because I'm just telling you, but in Python it is like the true and big F. Okay, I also like written here. Then I will give you examples of one data type. Then we have like studied a type function in detail. So the type function is used to identify the data type of a particular variable or value. Then I will told you the syntax of type function. I've also told you why it is useful. It helps to understand the program, helps to debug also, and helps to find mistakes in our code. Then these are some errors by like using type function like only use print type. This will not give any. It only gives returns the function that is type, not give any value. Okay. Then I give you some examples of you how to use type functions. Then we come to a new topic named as type conversions or typecasting. So here I write the definition as type conversion means to convert a value from one data type to another data type. I have given you the examples for converting string into integer, integer into float, and float into string. Here I also gave you examples how you can convert like real examples from like in class by default the input always takes a string, but by using int you can take as a integer or float also. Then by you can also change the value of by str function or from one variable to another data type of one variable to another data type by using these inbuilt function like str, int, and float. Then I will tell you about two basic properties of Boolean that in Boolean non-zero numbers are considered as true and zeros are considered as false. Empty strings are treated as false and non-empty strings are treated as true. Although there are some invalid conversions also, I have also told you like you can't convert alphabetical word into a number. Mistakes we have also uh, we have also had some mistakes which we often done by people when like type conversions like forgot conversions, converting well data into the every single become int. Then we have done four like some of the test programs. You can also revise the better programs if you are like lacking somewhere. Then I have gave you some coding challenge like for your homework you think. Then here again, I have revised you some of your basic errors people do. Right here, basic errors. So by that, we have revised our whole today's lecture. Now I will told you that programming is a skill that improves with consistent practice. Don't worry if some concept difficult at first, like the type conversion, if you find it hard. Every programmer started as beginner, and the important thing is to keep practicing, experimenting, and learning from your mistakes. Do mistakes and learn from them. The more programs you write, the more confident you will become. Now we have completed today's lesson on Python data types, so that now I will give you a free practice questions and assignments, so you can strengthen your concepts also. Okay, so let's just come to the assignments part. So firstly, before giving you assignments, I want to say that congratulations for completing the third lecture of our Python programming course. I strongly recommend to spend some time and practice today's concept before coming to the assignments. As a programming is a practical skill, it requires time. So the first assignment as of yours is to like identify the data types. So assignment 1. Here, firstly, in assignment 1, you have to create 4 variables named as the name, age, height, and is student. Then you have to use type function to display the data type of each variable. Okay, so try writing your by own. Okay, for the assignment 2, for the assignment 2, now you have to take input from user. In this, you have not to take input from user, but you have to take the input from users. Okay, so you will ask user for to enter its name, age, and city. A hint I can give to you, here you will use type conversions. Okay, so after taking the input information in the clear format, like name, your name, then your age, then your city. Okay, also use type function to check data type of each input. So this is all for your assignment 2. Now for assignment 3, we have to like practice type conversions. For that, your first task is to convert 150 to integer. Second, you have to convert 25 and into float. Then third to 9.9.8 into integer, and last you have to convert 500 to string. Then after conversion prints both the value and its data types. For the assignment 4, you have to predict the output of the following code, like, and write, like, predict on your mind, or like however you like to write somewhere if you want to write print. Okay, printer type 100, print type 100.0, then print type true, and print type false. So before ending our lecture, I want to give you a practice advice. While practicing, don't just copy the code from the lecture. Try changing the values, experiment with yourself, and replace the name with your own name. Experiment with different codes and observe your output changes. This habit will understand the Python, how it works. Okay? If you encounter error while printing, writing your programs, don't get discouraged. Read the error message carefully. Search on the internet if you want, and see why the error is happening. So before ending our lecture, I want to give you some preview of our next lecture. What we will learn in next lecture, like arithmetic operators, assignment operators, comparison operators, logical operators, membership operators, identity operators, and operator precedence. Like the how the precedence, like in mathematics we learn mod mass. So in Python there is operator precedence. So however these operators are be used to perform calculation, compare values, and write decision making programs. So before we end, I'd like to leave you with one important message. Learning programming is not about remembering syntax. It's about understanding concepts and applying properties. I'm telling you in the end of our lecture. So don't be try to cram the syntax. Otherwise you will stuck in the tutorial hell. Just understand, write your own programs. Best thing. So thank you for joining me in today's lecture. I hope you will find this session informative and helpful. I'll see you in the next lecture, which will be begin exploring Python operators, types of Python operators. So, sir, thank you and happy coding.